Welcome to the WalterFootball.com podcast. This is episode 294. This is our week one NFL picks against the spread podcast for the 2020 season. We've had 7 months off without handicapping a single NFL game, but we're back. I'm excited. Joined by Jacob Kamiker from the Sporting News. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm pumped up to be picking games again. That's how I got my start on this podcast week one last year. So it's been roughly a full year on here with you. So I'm excited to get back to doing what we hopefully do best and picking some of these games.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hard to believe a whole year has passed by. I was talking to you before we started recording. It seemed like the summer just flew by, especially August. And you were saying that because we didn't have the preseason, kind of like the NFL snuck up on us, and kind of seemed like the case. But I'm not complaining. I mean, we have football in 2 days, and then of course the full slate on Sunday in 5 days. So looking forward to it. The first game. Why don't we just jump into it? The first game is Houston at Kansas City. This line opened up Kansas City minus 9.5. It's down to 9 in most sports books. So who do you like here?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Chiefs in this one. I don't really get the love that Houston's been getting to move the line, even by half a point, because the coaching advantage in this game is massive for Andy Reid. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Like, I'd have no problem arguing him as second best behind Belichick. And he's coming off a Super Bowl title. And Houston has Bill O'Brien, who has traded half of his team for like nothing. And, they keep getting good players, like enough to stay competitive. But at some point, the luck's going to have to run out for O'Brien, I feel like. And let's just look at the last time these two teams met. It was in the playoffs. The Chiefs were down 24-0 in the first half. They ended up winning the game by 20 points and were up by halftime after trailing 24-0 in the second quarter. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. It just speaks to the talent that Patrick Mahomes has, never being out of a game. But I just think that they're going to be ready to defend their title. They're going to be amped up to get out there, and Reid's just going to have them ready. So I have 2 units on the Chiefs in this game. I could see a world in which Deshaun Watson leads a backdoor cover drive at the end of the game. So that's why I'm not more bullish on it. But I think the Chiefs will be ready for this. I love their team so much. And anytime you have the best player in the NFL around, that makes things a lot easier to trust that side.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Chiefs. So it's nice to get off to a good start together. You're more bullish on it than I am, though. Like, you're betting 2 units. I'm not betting this game. And I'll explain why in a second. But I want to say first that I agree with you. I want to say why I agree with you that the Chiefs are the right side. And you said it, Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and to give him tons of time to prepare for a game, especially in a weird offseason like this, it seems like the better coaches will have the advantages in this week one, in these week one matchups. Andy Reid is 5-2 against the spread as in season openers as head coach of the Chiefs. Whereas like Bill O'Brien, I'm sure this won't surprise you at all that he has a bad record. He's 2-4. His 2 wins against the spread, by the way, were in 2014 against the Redskins, who went 4-12 that year, and against the Bears in 2016. And of course, Jay Cutler was quarterbacking the team, and of course, we know how aloof Cutler was, and he just didn't really care. So those are Bill O'Brien's 2 covers as head coach of the Texans. So I'm definitely on the Chiefs here, and yeah, they're the much better team. The Texans lost a ton of talent in the offseason. DJ Reader, a big loss for them in the defensive line. They're going to be worse against the run, whereas the Chiefs added Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it feels like they should be able to run on the Texans and kind of run out the clock. The reason why I'm not betting the Chiefs is because I'm so scared of the backdoor cover. Deshaun Watson, I'm sure you would agree, is a top 5 NFL quarterback. It just seems like if you give these elite quarterbacks this many points, like it feels like they should be able to cover at the end. So I don't want to be in a situation where I'm watching the game and the Chiefs are up by 17, and then Watson drives down with 8 minutes to go and he scores a touchdown, and then he drives down again with 2 minutes to go and he scores another touchdown, and you're like, oh, I just lost. So I feel like that something like that could happen, but I think that the Chiefs are the right side, so I would pick them in an office pool.
Yeah, the backdoor cover is definitely something to be scared of. The reason that I'm betting 2 units on this game is because it's the Thursday night game, and I can't bring myself not to do it because I'm just too amped up for it. I could end up regretting it, but Last year, I think it was Bears-Packers was the season opener, and Packers were +3 in that game, and I was all over that, and that ended up being right. So I got to see if my against the spread record in season openers continues to improve, because I don't remember if there's any data before that. I have no idea what it is because I wasn't keeping track before then. So if I can go 2-0 against the spread in season openers, I'd be very happy with that.
That would be nice. I was right there with you on the Packers, and that I was way more confident on that pick. In fact, if there wasn't like a time to set a limit on, or if there wasn't like a limit for when you had to submit your super contest in relation to Thursday night games, like if you could submit your Thursday night game and then the other 4 picks, I would have taken the Packers as one of my 5 picks in the super contest. But you can't do that, unfortunately. I don't know why. It feels like they should change those rules, but that's neither here nor there. I should say that we're in the super contest together in one entry, so I'm looking forward to seeing how we do. Also, please hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. That would mean a lot, or share this link with someone who loves football. That would mean so much to us. So please do that. Let's get to the Sunday games, and the Dolphins at the Patriots. Line open up. Patriots -7. It's down to 6.5. Of course, the Patriots have Cam Newton at quarterback, and you're wearing his jersey. So is that a sign of where you're going to go with this game?
Yeah, it is a sign of where I'm going to go with this game. It's also a sign that I really like Cam Newton as both a player and a person, because I've not had a Patriots jersey since Katz and Moyer was on the team. That was when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
So I just, I've had shirts, but I've never gotten an actual jersey. So I'm very confident in the Patriots. I was not confident in them when they had Jarrett Stidham slated to start, but they're a 6.5-point favorite against the Dolphins right now, but Bill Belichick, with extra time to prepare, is one of the best head coaches in the league. There's an element of revenge in this game too, because in Week 17, the Patriots needed to beat the Dolphins to get the bye in the playoffs, and they didn't get that, and then they lost to the Titans in the first round, and it really looked bad. Like, it was a very bad look for the end of the season, a very bad look for the end of the Brady era. And, you can argue, they weren't going to go far in the playoffs anyway, and I get that, but there's still, something about being eliminated as the 3 seed in the wild card game as opposed to getting the bye and then being eliminated and people just being like, you have a weak team. So I think Belichick's going to have a motivational edge there. I know the Patriots have lost a lot of starters via opt-outs, Tom Brady leaving, but I do like Cam Newton's potential and his fit here. I think they're going to use real ground-heavy attack, even with Damian Harris out. They're going to use Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, James White, and maybe even a little bit of J.J. Taylor, the undrafted free agent from Arizona, just to kind of attack the weakness of the Dolphins, which is certainly in the front seven. They have a good secondary. And the Patriots' defensive strength, the secondary, matches up with Miami's strength, their receiving core. So I think this is going to be a strength versus strength matchup for the Patriots on that side of the ball, but I think they ultimately have the talent needed to get it done. As good of a coach as Brian Flores is, I think Miami's a little overrated right now too. People look at what he did last year with little talent and they see, they've added a lot this offseason. They should be much better. But in reality, there are still some major holes and some developmental pieces that need to come together. I like Austin Jackson a lot at tackle, but I think he needs some time before he's going to be a quality starter. So it's stuff like that, stuff where you see they've added guys but may need time to develop. So I like the Patriots here. I'll probably go 2 to 3 units here. The motivational edge is there. The only thing that would cause me probably to go down to the 2-unit mark is just because of the respect I have for Brian Flores. But I think where we're getting a key number of 7, this is definitely a game I'm going to be betting on.
Yeah, me too. We're 2 for 2 in agreement. So I like the Patriots as well. You mentioned Belichick having extra time to prepare. He's 7-3 against the spread in week 1 this past decade. So I'd say that's pretty good. I like you. I like Brian Flores as well. But remember what happened week 1 last year with Brian Flores. They got blown out by Baltimore. Obviously, this Dolphins team is going to be a lot better than the week 1 version that we saw where Kalen Ballage was playing and he was dodging passes out of the backfield. But this team is not that much better than the week 17 version we saw that beat New England in New England. And do you remember what the spread of that game was?
Man, I want to say it was 9-ish, right? Or was it way more than that?
Oh, it was 16.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we've seen a shift of almost 10 points here. And I get it. Brady's not here anymore. Sure. But Cam Newton, if he's healthy, if he's 100%, and we have no reason to believe otherwise, Brady was not playing that well last year in relation to how he usually plays. Like, he was still good, obviously, but he had no receiving core. Newton still doesn't have a receiving core, but I like that he can scramble and kind of negate some of those weaknesses. And the Dolphins, like you said, they don't have a good front seven. Their linebacking core took a hit with McMillan gone. So I think Newton should be able to run pretty well against the Dolphins. So yeah, I like this. I like the Patriots quite a bit. I'm betting them 3 units. So I think I'm matching what you said. So yeah, so we're 2 for 2. Let's go 3 for 3. The Browns at the Ravens. Ravens open up -8.5. It's down to 7.5. So who do you like this game?
I like the Ravens, especially with the spread moving down. Like, I know the Browns are better than they were last year. It's funny. Everyone was on the Browns bandwagon last year, and you and me were kind of off it, being like, they still have some weaknesses on that offensive line that they have to shore up. Lo and behold, they had Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin this year, and everyone's lower on them now for some reason. But the line movement seems to demonstrate that maybe the bettors aren't lower on them. But anyway, this falls into the same category as the other two games. It's a veteran head coach, John Harbaugh, who's excellent in week 1, excellent with extra time to prepare, going against Kevin Stefanski, who is coaching his first game at the NFL level. I think the no preseason is going to hurt Stefanski. He's going to have to kind of adjust on the fly and kind of shake out the butterflies. So I think that's a big deal for him. And this is just an amazing stat about John Harbaugh. In his last 3 openers, the Ravens have outscored their opponents by a mark of 4 on average of 42 to 4.3 per game. So they're winning by almost 38 points per game. It's insane. So they would cover any spread. I don't think the Browns are quite as bad as the teams they played. Like, they played the Dolphins in the past. And then the year before they played the Bills, and I think won 47-3. I think the Browns team is better than those, but this Browns team I still don't think is ready for the limelight. And the Ravens have made some big improvements on defense, adding Calais Campbell, drafting Patrick Queen. I think they have some good pieces on defense that'll help them get some pressure on Baker Mayfield, even with the improved offensive line. So I like the Ravens in this game. I'm probably going to go for 1 or 2 units on this one, just because I do respect the Browns, but I'm much higher on the Ravens in this specific game. I just don't want to end up in a situation where the Browns running game actually works really well, like it did, I think it was week 3 last year, and they blew out the Ravens. I don't think that happens, but I'm hedging my bets against that by betting just 1 or 2 units.
Yeah, that game was, I think that kind of threw everyone off the scent of those two teams, because the Ravens got blown out at home by the Browns, and everyone's like, okay, maybe the Ravens aren't that good and the Browns are better than what we think they are. And they kind of had reversals after that. And if you recall, like the Ravens had so many injuries in that game, like heading into that game, they just weren't themselves. And then they also traded for Marcus Peters. So they got better when everyone got healthy. And also Peters joined the team. So I think that was misleading. And then late in the year, Baltimore went into Cleveland and handled them pretty easily. So I think this game could go that way. If these teams were on even rest, like 7 days off, 6 days off, whatever, I think I think I might lean toward Cleveland. But given the extra rest, the time to prepare, what you were saying about John Harbaugh versus Kevin Stefanski not ever coaching, being a head coach in the NFL. John Harbaugh is an amazing week 1 coach. In his career, he's 9-3 straight up and against the spread in week 1. The last time he didn't cover in week 1 was in 2015 against the Broncos, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So I don't think this Browns team is going to win the Super Bowl. I like them a little bit, but they're not going to go all the way. So yeah, I like Baltimore a lot. They even with Marshall Yanda gone, which is a big loss, I still think they're vastly superior here. They have a lot of matchup edges. Jarvis Landry's banged up. Who knows what's going on with Odell Beckham in those tweets today. So I think the Baltimore secondary should be able to handle Baker Mayfield, who's not really refined as a quarterback yet. I think he might get there one day, but I don't think he is. So I think Baltimore should be able to win this. So we're 3 for 3.
Yeah, and one other point on this game, I think the linebacker core for Cleveland, I think, is pretty banged up because they lost Joe Scobert in free agency, and then they have, I think Mac Wilson's banged up too, and then Grant Delpit's out for the season. So I know he's a safety, but still kind of up the middle, and that back seven's a little bit weak. So just another point. But yeah, it's good that we're 3 for 3 out of the gate. If we had been 0 for 3, I would be very not confident in any of my picks, but I'm feeling good right now.
That's it's a good point on the linebacking core, and I guess generally the middle of the defense. If you're weak in the middle of the defense against Lamar Jackson, that kind of spells trouble to me. So yeah, I'm glad we're 3 for 3. Let's see if we're 4 for 4. The Jets are at the Bills. This line open up. Bills -6. It's up to 6.5. So who do you like here?
Yeah, I don't love this game. It's probably one of my least favorite on the slate. I'm actually leaning towards the Jets. I just think this number's a little high. Like, I love the Bills and what they've done this offseason. They have a lot of depth. And Sean McDermott's a really great young coach. But I think the Jets are a little bit underrated. They went 7-2 last year with Sam Darnold and Kelvin Beachum on the field at the end of the season in their last 9 games. I know Beacham's gone, but the Jets have pretty much changed out their entire offensive line. They've added some weapons to their receiving core, so I could see them keeping it close to Buffalo. Obviously, the great equalizer is Adam Gase and his inability to coach talented players. He's caused problems with Le'Veon Bell. They traded Jamal Adams, so that defense looks, kind of below average right now. But where I don't think that Buffalo is like a hugely explosive offense, like they have talent, don't get me wrong. Then they added Stephon Diggs. I think that the Jets will be able to at least contain them a bit. So I kind of see this being a, field goal to 6-point game. So that 6.5 makes me a little nervous. So I'm on the Jets here. I'm probably not going to bet this game because, one, I don't like betting on Adam Gase. And two, I can't bring myself to bet against Buffalo because I do think they're going to be a really good team. I just don't like this matchup for them off the bat.
Yeah, we have our first disagreement here. So you were talking about how the Browns are missing a lot of personnel in the middle of their defense, and you could say the same thing about the Jets, who traded away Jamal Adams. CJ Mosley opted out. They still have Avery Williamson and Marcus May, so they're not completely devoid of talent there, but they're missing talent in the middle of their defense against Josh Allen, who's going to be able to run circles around them. The Jets secondary is still not very good. The cornerbacks, I mean. So how are they going to cover Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, John Brown? It just seems like the Bills are a lot better, and the Jets seem like they're about to fall apart because, they trade away their best player. And so what does that say for this year? Like, it could be just kind of a negative sentiment in the locker room, and maybe some players quit. I don't buy into NFL teams quitting, but there are some players here and there who do quit. So I think we could see that with the Jets. I'm not going to bet this game, though, because for 2 reasons. One, I think that the Bills might, they have such high expectations. Like, they had a big offseason. I think there's a chance they might choke under pressure. I don't think they will, but I think there's a slight chance they will. And second, Sean McDermott hasn't been really impressive in week 1s. He's 1-2 against the spread. And his only cover was by 1 point against the Jets in 2017. So and maybe that's a sign of things it doesn't mean he's a bad coach. Like, for example, Sean Payton, we'll get to him later. He's 1-13 against the spread in week 1 and weeks 1 and 2, which is just bizarre. Maybe he just doesn't prepare his team well to begin the year. And maybe McDermott doesn't either. It's a small sample size. But I'm going to be on the Bills just for the reasons I mentioned, but I'm not going to bet this game.
Yeah, you could easily convince me to switch to the Bills. Like, I do think they're the better team. It's more the number that scares me here. Like, I just don't want a situation either where the Bills are up, say 10 late in the game, and then they let Sam Darnold run like a clock draining drive to get a touchdown for the backdoor cover. Like, I don't know if that will happen, but I could foresee a world in which it does. And if this spread got up to 7, then I might consider betting on the Jets just because you're getting 3 key numbers there, and I think a push would be possible. But I think not betting this game for now is the way to go, especially if you're on the Jets side. Like, I don't want to bet this even if it gets to 7 and I'm on the Jets. I just don't trust Gase.
Yeah, if you do like the Jets, wait for 7. Like, I think it could happen. It moved from 6 to 6.5, so there's a chance it gets to 7. So definitely look out for that. Next game is Raiders at Panthers. The line open up Raiders -1.5. It's up to 3. Charlie Campbell loves the Raiders. I should mention that. I'm wondering if you feel the same way.
Oh, so this game tore me apart trying to pick a winner in because there are 2 very conflicting schools of thought here. First of all, Teddy Bridgewater against the spread is absolutely ridiculous. If you know me well and watched this podcast last year, Teddy Bridgewater, I bet on him every week, pretty much. I think except the first week that he started for the Saints, because he's in his last 23 starts, he's 19-4 against the spread, which is just ridiculous. Like, it's not like he's like some sort of great quarterback. I mean, no offense to Teddy Bridgewater, he's very, very solid, but like, it's not like he's in Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson territory here. He's like a very good game manager. So the fact that he's been able to do that is really, really good. But the Raiders, they have a great matchup against the Panthers, because the Panthers were one of the worst teams against running backs last year. They gave up 27 touchdowns on the ground. No other team gave up more than 18. They've added some personnel to help that, and Derek Brown, they should be getting Kawan Short back from injury. But the bigger news is they lost Luke Kuechly to retirement, which will hurt their run defense more than the additions help it. So I think Jacobs will have a big game. Also, Luke Kuechly's departure opens up an opportunity for Darren Waller to have a big game, which is bad because he's playing against me in fantasy, but I think it's going to happen. And, Derek Carr likes to target people short. And then the other big thing on the Panthers defense, they let James Bradbury walk. So they're down their number one cornerback. They added a bunch of talent in the draft, but I don't think they're going to be ready for week one in a season where there was no preseason. And the coaching staff on the Panthers is, they don't have much NFL experience at all. So I think it's going to take them a long time to get acclimated. So everything points Raiders here except Teddy Bridgewater. So I'm going with the Raiders, but out of respect for Teddy, like if he somehow covers in this game, like I will bet Teddy Bridgewater covering the rest of the season probably. But yeah, I'm on the Raiders -3, probably just for 2 units. You could convince me to do more, but I think Teddy is making me not want to go more than 2.
Yeah, it is scary fading Teddy Bridgewater with that impressive spread record that you mentioned. Maybe like thinking about how he has to learn a new offense in Carolina with a new head coach who's never been a head coach before, let alone been in the league. He doesn't have much NFL experience. Matt Rule talking about. So it's a new coaching staff that almost none of them have NFL experience. So I think this could be tough for them. And the Raiders are more established. Like John Gruden, third year with the Raiders. Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, has been in the NFL forever. So I think that's a big matchup edge for the Raiders. And also, the Carolina's inability to stop the run versus Josh Jacobs. I love Jacobs. I've said before, I have a 16-1 prop on him to win the rushing title this year. So hopefully he gets off to a good start here. If he doesn't, maybe I'm not going to win. But I think that the Raiders are I think they're the right side. I'm betting 2 units on them. I'm not in love with the line. This was 1.5 and now it's up to 3. A likely result of this game is Raiders by 3. So definitely make sure you get 3 and not 3.5. I've seen some 3.5s out there. So make sure you get the 3. But yeah, I mean, I think the spread is kind of right where it should be. So yeah, I'm going to be on the Raiders, but not crazy about it.
Yeah, I think if the spread had stayed at 1.5, I'd be crazy about it. I think 3 is the right spot. If we were talking about a normal season in which there were going to be fans in the Carolina Stadium and there was a preseason where we could see Matt Rule and the guys in action, see what their offense was doing and everything, I think it would be a different story. But I think for now, -3 for an experienced head coach like Gruden, who has won a Super Bowl, I think is a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. Someone's asking Derek Rivers or Phillip Rivers this weekend. I would call Rivers. I'd go with Carr for sure. Rivers just operates so slowly, it's just miserable. But I don't think Rivers is a bad option either. So I don't know.
I actually prefer Phillip Rivers this week, but I also like Rivers as a quarterback a little bit better than Derek Carr. Oh, yeah. And I think I like the matchup better. I think it might be a massive Josh Jacobs game, but I don't think you can go wrong with either guy.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know what? I mean, both games could be blowouts. They're both favored, so it's kind of not great spots for either. But I think they're about even. All right, next game: Seahawks at Falcons. This line open up. Seahawks -1. It's up to 2. Maybe we'll see a 3. I don't think so, but I think it's possible. So curious to hear who you like in this game.
So if you flash back to a year ago on this very same podcast, I was all over the Falcons week 1 -4. Or +4, I think, against the Vikings in Minnesota. And I was like, I'm betting the money line on them. The Falcons are going to be good this year. And I think they went down 24-0 at one point in that game before making a meaningless comeback effort at the end and did not cover. I got crushed on that one, basically. So am I going to make the same mistake again? No. but I'm probably going to be wrong again. That's what's going to happen. The Falcons are one of my cursed teams. Like they always seem to find a way to lose when I need them not to. But anyway, the way I see it is, Seattle's offense should feast on the Atlanta secondary. Like, I don't think Atlanta has a very good cornerback group. They got rid of Desmond Trufant this offseason. They drafted A.J. Terrell, who, I think has the ceiling and ability to be good, but I think he's pretty raw. And I think he's going to be hurt by the lack of an offseason. The weapons in Seattle are really good. I mean, they have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and they signed Josh Gordon too. So I know he's not going to be on the field, but eventually that'll happen. And just the fact that Russell Wilson is going to be more aggressive this season by all reports leads me to believe that the Seahawks want to come out kind of slinging and get off to a fast start, because they haven't done that in years past. And they found themselves increasingly behind the 49ers and like being yards short of winning the division title and getting home field advantage, which is important for them even without fans in the stands. So I think they're going to come out big, knowing that the 49ers could have a Super Bowl hangover. And I think that they match up pretty well with the Falcons receivers and tight ends in their back seven. They'll need to get more pressure, though, because Matt Ryan was sacked the league high 48 times last year. I don't know who can generate pressure on the Seahawks at this point, but maybe LJ Collier will surprise or something. But I'm going with the Seahawks -2, but I'm only going for one unit because I know the Falcons are going to find some way to lose me this bet. So I'm going to do one unit, and then I won't be as disappointed when they lose it for me.
Very nice. I like Atlanta. So the week one matchup last year, I mean, at Minnesota, like we know how good Mike Zimmer is in week one games now. And also that Atlanta team started 1-7. So like the team that ended the year was 6-2. The team that started the year was 1-7. So the question is like, which team will we see starting this year? Will we see the team that started poorly, the one that finished well? I think there's a chance we'll see the one that finished well. A couple things happened late in the year for the Falcons. Like one, their left tackle and center, Jake Matthews and Alex Mack started playing a lot better, and they got Chris Lynch from the rookie guard back from injury. They also have right tackle Caleb Gary entering his second year, so he should be better. I don't love him, but he should be better than he was last year. So I think Atlanta's offensive line should hold up well, especially considering that Seattle can't pressure. And the second thing that happened was they moved Raheem Morris over to the defensive side, and he's still there. Atlanta has on paper just like bad cornerbacks, but they have a great coach who can coach them up. So I think there's a chance that one of the unknown corners that we see on the roster right now, like by year's end, we could be like, oh, that guy's a pretty good player. So I think there's a chance that could happen. So if that's correct, I think Atlanta wins this game. They're just better in the trenches, I think. Like, they don't have a great pass rush or anything, but they have Grady Jarrett, Dante Fowler, and stuff like that. Seattle has a bad offensive line. And I mentioned Seattle's pass rush. That's not there. So I think Atlanta could win in the trenches. And also, this is amazing. And you know this because I told you this like a week ago or something. But did you know that the last time Seattle covered the spread in week one was 2014? That's so long ago. I remember last year, week one, they almost lost to Cincinnati at home. The team with the worst record in the NFL, they almost lost to them at home. Like, that's how bad they are week one historically. I don't know why. I think Pete Carroll's a good coach. For some reason, he just doesn't prepare them well to start the year. And if that happens again, I think Atlanta should win this game.
Yeah, I can definitely see the case for it. That there's a lot pointing to it. I think that Seahawks to start the year stat is just incredible. But like, part of me wants to believe that a reason they're going to be more aggressive on offense this year is to combat that. And I usually hate picking against the team that I think is better in the trenches, but I just can't trust Atlanta right now. But if they win this game outright against the Seahawks, I think then I'll have some sense of belief that they are the team they showed the second half of last year. But, I can see your argument. So I may not ultimately bet this game. And if I do, I'm only putting one unit on the Seahawks. I have very low confidence in this one.
I should note I didn't say my bet size, so it's right now it's 0, but I may bet a small amount on Atlanta. So not one of my more confident games, but this one is way more confident for me, and I think we're going to be on the same side. Eagles at Redskins. This line opened up Eagles -6. I saw it went to 6.5, and now it's back down to 6. So who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I like Washington a lot. I mean, everyone, I was talking to my boss at Sporting News, and he was asking me and my fellow fantasy writer, like, hey, who who would you rather have in a survivor pool, the Colts or the Eagles this week? And my coworker answered Eagles, and I said Colts by a long shot. I think Washington has a chance to win this game. And they both kind of, this was over Messenger, so they couldn't see me or anything, but I could feel them looking at me like I was crazy. But I think this game's just going to trick a lot of people. You remember week 1 last year, Washington actually almost beat Philadelphia in the opener. If not for some bad defensive breakdowns and a couple missed throws by Case Keenum, I think they would have. But if you look at it now, they have a better coaching staff. They have a quarterback who seems ready, maybe not to like break out and become like an elite quarterback, but he could really rise after struggling last year and playing better towards the end of the year. Dwayne Haskins, I think he could be much better. And on the other side of things, the Eagles are down 2 offensive linemen. They're going to be without Brandon Brooks and Andre Dillard. And their left tackle replacement for Dillard was so bad that they had to kick Jason Peters back outside to tackle. So that tells you that they really aren't confident in their 5th offensive lineman. Whoever's going to be playing at guard with Isaac Soyomalo at left guard. So there's going to be some holes on the interior, and Washington's pass rush is so good. They have 5 former first-round picks and Matt Ioannidis up there. They're going to get a ton of pressure on Carson Wentz, who is without Alshon Jeffrey, playing with Deshaun Jackson, who he loves throwing to. But, you know, Jackson's been injury-prone, even though he torched the Redskins week 1 last year. But Carson Wentz has been dealing with some groin tightness. So if he's not fully healthy and can't move around the pocket, it's going to make it hard for him to find success against this team. I also think there's going to be a motivational edge for Washington, kind of proving like, hey, like we can win now that we have good coaching, because they had Jay Gruden there for 5 or 6 years and it just didn't go well. And also Rivera was recently diagnosed with cancer and he had to miss practice today for treatment. So I think there's going to be a motivational edge of saying like, hey, let's win this one for coach too, and show him like, hey, we're ready to play hard for you. Rivera's a great motivator anyway. So there's just all of this stuff that's kind of piling up against the Eagles in my book. So I'm all over Washington. I think they could win it outright. I think they cover this at the least. I think the Eagles are being vastly overrated. So I'm on Washington +6 for 4 units right now. This is one of my favorite plays of the week.
Yeah, I'm even higher. I'm on them for 5 units. I love the Redskins. I think they're a great play this week. I don't understand why the Eagles are favored by 6. Well, I guess I should say, like, you know, I can understand the public sentiment. Like, they're still being priced like they just recently went to the Super Bowl. And yeah, that team was amazing. That team was great in the trenches. And you could say this team still is on the defensive side of the ball. I like their defensive line. But the rest of their defense is not very good. Their linebacking core is awful. And their secondary lost Malcolm Jenkins. I know they got Darius Slay, who's is definitely an upgrade at corner, but losing Jenkins, I think, is huge. So this defense is not nearly as good as it used to be. And then you mentioned the offensive line, like down 2 starters against one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. You know, I think the Redskins, like you were saying with the survivors stuff, like, yeah, I would definitely not take the Eagles. They're going to be my trap team of the week. And I think I would say like percentage chance these teams win this game. I think the Eagles are like 51%, 52% to win outright. So, you know, getting 6 points seems amazing to me. Like, as long as Dwayne Haskins isn't terrible, like that hasn't regressed a lot. And I don't see why that would happen. I think the Redskins should be able to win this game for sure. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a 3-point game either way. And you talked about the matchups last year. The Redskins nearly won both of them. And now the Redskins are better than they were last year, and now the Eagles are worse than they were last year. So, this spread is way off. My line is Philadelphia -1, so it's about even. And I like what you said about Ron Rivera. I actually saw that news today that he missed practice. I kind of had like a panic attack. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to bet the Redskins now. Then I thought about it. I remember like Chuck Pagano, like they really played for him. Ron Rivera is a very liked head coach, so I think that the Redskins might win this one for him. So it's maybe a motivational edge for them too. So yeah, Redskins for 5 units.
Yeah, I think that the Rivera thing, especially because this was announced just a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "I'm gonna coach through all of this, and like, you know, it's only minor, and I really want to be here for everyone." So I think that matters for this team, especially. They have a lot of new personnel in there. People are buying into the culture. They've added savvy veterans like Thomas Davis to the fold, like, you know, people who could be examples for the younger players. So my only concern is on offense. They obviously don't have a lot of weapons, and they don't have the left side of the lines a little bit a little bit shaky there, so the Eagles pass rush could do well. But again, so like you said, so long as Dwayne Haskins isn't terrible and doesn't have a ton of turnovers, I think this is going to be a very, very close game.
Ralph is asking if I'm doing confidence pool picks this year. I am. They will be up Wednesday morning, so look out for that on the homepage. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Bears at Lions. The line opened up Lions -1.5. It is now actually -1. Now it's up to 3. So who do you like here?
I have to feel like this line moved because Mitch Trubisky's the starter. I don't know if that's actually the real reason it moved, but I just can't believe that Mitch Trubisky beat Nick Foles for the starting job. I'm sure Kenny is very upset about that. Kenny loves Nick Foles. I think Nick Foles is better than Mitch Trubisky as well, but we'll see what ends up happening. I'm favoring the Lions in this one. The Bears were 4-12 against the spread last season. That was worst in the league. They've regressed on both sides of the ball. Their blocking is worse. Unless Trubisky has made massive improvements, I don't see the offense moving the ball much. David Montgomery is hurt and he was ineffective last year. So his absence might actually help because Tariq Cohen will get more touches, but they don't have like a big, physical back. It's him, Cordero Patterson, and Ryan Nall in the backfield. And one of them's a fullback, one's a converted wide receiver. So not ideal. But we'll see what ends up happening. I think the Lions have upgraded their team enough. They added Jamie Collins, Danny Amendola, Halapoulivaati Vaitai, and a couple starting caliber cornerbacks to replace Darius Slay with Jeff Okudah and Desmond Trufant. If Matthew Stafford's healthy, the Lions should win this one. I have my reservations about actually betting on this game just in case, Trubisky has made massive strides behind the scenes or Stafford comes out and doesn't look healthy. So I'm favoring the Lions, but I don't think I'm willing to bet this game yet. There are too many questions about both of these teams for me to consider betting it just yet.
Yeah, let's pour one out for Kenny and his favorite quarterback, Nicky Franchise. I don't understand how Trubisky's starting. Like, who cares how they look in practice? Trubisky's terrible. Like, come on. Like, we all know this. Foles won a Super Bowl. Like, he's not a great quarterback or anything, but, he's definitely better than Trubisky. I really don't get it. I like this line, or I like this game more when it was -1, -1.5, and then it suddenly like popped out to me like it was -3 last night when I was looking at the lines. I'm like, how'd that happen? It was -1 or -1.5 the whole summer, and I assumed I would be able to bet the Lions at less than 3. At 3, I'm not really sure where to go with this. I think I'm going to take the Lions. I'm way down on the Bears. I don't like their blocking. I don't think they have a running game. I think the defense is overrated. Like, granted, they still have some great players like Mac, but they've lost some key personnel over the past couple of off seasons. So they're definitely not the Bears defense that we saw in 2018 that went to the playoffs. That was a double doink away from going to the divisional round. So something you said, there were 4 words you said in your analysis that would have described like why I'm not betting this game. You said, if Matthew Stafford's healthy. We don't know. Like, we have no idea. Like, he has a troublesome back. I thought there might have been like a 1% chance he'd retire this offseason, like Andrew Luck did last summer. He's playing like he's a tough guy. He's going to play through the pain. But back injuries just don't go away. And if Stafford is less than 100%, I don't want to back a favored quarterback who's laboring through a back injury. So I really want to see what Stafford looks like before I bet him. If he looks great, I'm definitely going to be on board with the Lions. In fact, I think they could win the division. But if he's looking like kind of iffy, he could lose to the Bears, and the Lions are going to be in for a long season. So I just want to see how he looks like first.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. If we had a preseason and we could have seen him then and seen if he bounced back, then I think you and I would probably be a lot more confident in the Lions at this number. But there's just too many wild cards with that team. And like, I have faith in Matt Patricia probably more than most because I'm biased because he went to school in the Amherst area, which where I went to school. But I do like their personnel, but without the quarterback, it's not going to be pretty because Chase Daniel's their backup and he's solid. Like, we saw him do okay with the Bears last year, but I don't think Daniel could carry this team to a 3-point win if Stafford, for whatever reason, couldn't make it through the game.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Although Daniel would know the personnel, so maybe that would help a little bit. But yeah, I agree with that totally. All right, next game, Colts at the Jaguars. This line opened up -6.5. It's up to 8. So it seems pretty high. And actually, there's not a lot of public betting in this game. So who do you like here?
I love the Colts. I mean, I looked at this number and I thought it was still too low. Like maybe I'm just vastly underrating the Jaguars, but I don't think so. Because if you look at the Jaguars, they have traded in the past calendar year Yannick Ngakoue, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, and Ronnie Harrison. Those are just the ones I remember. They may have traded other people as well. Oh, they traded Nick Foles, but that was actually a good move because they got a 4th-round pick to move that contract, and the Bears aren't even starting him. So anyway, but the Jaguars have offloaded a ton of talent. Meanwhile, the Colts have the league's best offensive line. They've upgraded their quarterback situation with Phillip Rivers, who, is older and he's coming off a down season, but he's playing with the best offensive line he's ever had, and he has some good weapons. And T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, and I like Michael Pittman, the rookie. I don't know what he's going to do out of the bat, but I think that he has enough around him. Naeem Hines in the running game to carry this team to victory. And then also on defense, you look at what they've added. DeForest Buckner, one of the better interior defensive linemen in the game, and Xavier Rhodes, who's coming off a down year, but if he's healthy and returns to form, he could be one of the better corners in the league again. So you just don't know with him. But I mean, the Jaguars are bad. They may have a lame duck coaching staff. How are they going to be motivated for this one? I can't see a world in which the Colts don't win this game and don't win this game by double digits. I know playing in Jacksonville is tough, but last year we saw, similar situation. The Ravens, a very good team, went into Miami, a tough place to play early in the season when it's hot, and won by 49. I think the Colts will win by double digits in this game. So I am on the Colts -8 for 5 units. I'll probably lock this in very soon because I don't want this line to keep going up. If I had 6.5 on this game, I might have even put 6 units on it, but don't want to get too crazy off the bat just in case something crazy happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we saw what happens when teams tank in week 1. Like you mentioned the Baltimore-Miami result last year. This reminds me so much of it because you have a Florida team playing in the heat, tanking, trading away all their good players. On the other side, you have a team with Super Bowl aspirations with a great head coach. Frank Reich has been excellent with extra time to prepare. So I really don't see why the Colts would be flat here. I think the Colts are an excellent team. The Jaguars are a mess. Like they don't have a running game at all. Like Leonard Fournette was traded, and then Raekwon Armstead is on the COVID list. So you have Divine Ozigbo, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, and then someone named James Robinson I've never heard before. So these are the running backs against a team that added DeForest Buckner to the defensive line. Like, how are they going to run the ball at all against Buckner and Darius Leonard, et cetera? So they're going to have a one-dimensional passing attack against a team with a good pass rush, and the Jaguars can't block. So the Jaguars are horrible. They're the worst team in the NFL. Don't bet them until they show any signs of life. I have like a strong I have a hard time to see how they can prepare for this game, like focus on this game, because it's kind of like the Dolphins last year where they were so flat to start the year because they saw all their best players traded away. They know they have no chance at the playoffs this year. They know their front office thinks they have no chance of the playoffs this year because they're gunning for Trevor Lawrence. So, like, where's the motivation here? I just don't see it with the Jaguars. I think the Colts win this easily. This is a 4-unit bet for me. I might go to 5.
Yeah, there's just no motivation at all. And like the one way I could see the Jaguars doing anything is because they do have good receivers, I think. I like DJ Chark. Chris Conley's not bad. They have Laviska Shenault, Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. They have good depth there. And Gardner Minshew doesn't turn the ball over. Like, I don't think he's a great starting quarterback, but you can definitely get by with him because he doesn't turn the ball over. So, but yeah, no, especially where Doug Marrone's there, he's on the hot seat. I think he knows that, like, he's not long for this team unless he pulls off a coaching miracle. I just don't see it happening. If this line was like 14, then I might consider not betting the Colts. But even then, like 8 feels like a bargain to me.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jason's asking, will I return with start sit? It should have been on the homepage if it wasn't. That was a mistake, but you can access it in the menu right now. So I'll make sure it's on the homepage tomorrow morning. All right, next game, Packers at Vikings. This line opened up -3. It's still -3. So I have a feeling we're going to disagree on this game.
Yeah, I had a strong feeling that we were too. I think this is the beginning of the Aaron Rodgers revenge tour. And the revenge he's getting is ironically on his own organization for taking Jordan Love instead of someone who could help him win right now. And A.J. Dillon, for that matter, just because they didn't need a running back. They could have used receiver help. But listen, last year, Rodgers beat the Vikings twice. I don't think that they're going to have trouble beating them again because as many improvements as the Vikings have made to this team, they've also had to hemorrhage some talent because of the Kirk Cousins contract. Michael Pierce is sitting out the year, so the team's going to be easier to run on with Aaron Jones. And I think the thing that stands out to me is the Vikings secondary at corner is very, very young. Like all of their guys are third-year players or newer to the league, and there are a couple rookies back there. So I just don't trust that they're going to be ready to not let Aaron Rodgers have some wide open looks. Like I know that they don't exactly have very good receivers outside of Devontae Adams, but I think that they'll at least be able to get open against some of these guys. So I'm on the Packers at +3 for 2 units, but I'm probably not going to bet against them or bet against Mike Zimmer any more than that because Mike Zimmer is an excellent head coach, and I imagine that's probably why you and I disagree on this one.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons. Zimmer is an excellent head coach. He's great with extra time to prepare. I think he's like a 67% covering rate with extra time to prepare. So I'm definitely going to be on the Vikings. This is one of my top plays of the week. I have him for 5 units, and the Zimmer thing is just one of the many things. Like I think the Vikings are a lot better than the Packers. The Packers. You talk about how like the Vikings hemorrhaged some talent, like they did add Ngakoue, so like they got better and then they lost some talent too. But the Packers really didn't do anything this offseason besides lose Brian Bulaga. Like they lost the right tackle, and Aaron Rodgers' pass protection is not going to be as good this year. And now they have to go against a team that has Daniel Hunter and Ngakoue rushing on the edge without their starting right tackle. So I think that's a big deal. The Packers were destroyed against the run in the NFC Championship against Raheem Mostert, and they did nothing to help it. In fact, they lost their top linebacker, so they're going to be even worse against the run. So I feel like Dalvin Cook's going to have a huge game. I think the spread's way off. The computer thinks the spread should be Minnesota -6. And I think I kind of agree. I could see this kind of going the way of Vikings Falcons in week 1 last year, where you kind of have like the better quarterback is on the road against the better team, and the better team just won. So like, I wonder like, where are the Packers better than the Vikings except for quarterback and cornerback? I think the Vikings are better or even in every other grouping area. So I just think the Vikings are way more solid overall. And I guess the cherry on top is that there's a ton of public action coming in on the Packers, which means the Packers are a public dog. I love fading public dogs. It's like one of the best things I love doing. Let me look at the action here real fast. Right now, it looks like there is about 68 to 70% of the money is on the Packers. And so everyone thinks the Packers are going to win. So I'm on the Vikings here. I love the Vikings a lot.
I absolutely hate backing public dogs, so now I feel really bad about this one. But I'm sticking to the theory that Aaron Rodgers is gonna like really elevate this team, and I will probably end up being wrong about that. But I just can't bring myself to do it. Your points are valid, and I especially think the one about the Packers' lack of run defense is a massive problem. I think their real hope of winning this game is going to hinge on really rendering the passing game completely ineffective so that all they could do is run the ball. And then even then, that might still be a problem. But I think Rodgers finds a way to at least cover this, if not win it. So I'm going against you here. But like, I could easily see this panning out your way. But I've been subscribing to the Aaron Rodgers theory all year, and I'm finally going to get to see it in action. I'm not backing down now.
Nice. Well, I actually like this because, I have my own super contest entry and the one we're going to share. So I'm going to have the Vikings in my own, but in the one we share, we're obviously not going to put this pick in. So it'd be kind of cool to kind of like hedge it. So looking forward to that. Also, before we move on to the late games, I should say we're sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. You can go to the App Store and download Underdog Fantasy. It's a best ball type of fantasy app. And all you have to do is draft, so you don't have to set your lineup. You don't have to worry about injuries. You don't have to worry about like crazy sharks like Osimo or Chipotle Addict beating you with their crazy Excel sheets. So they have big tournaments where you can win. They have $1 million in prizes, or they have smaller tournaments that you can enter in for $1 or $2. So they have something for everyone. I can't use it because PA doesn't allow it for some reason, but you've used Underdog Fantasy. Do you want to talk about it for a second?
Yeah, it is great. I love best ball. It's a lot of fun just to do the draft and not have to worry about it, because if you're like me and you're in a handful of fantasy leagues, you don't want to have to manage the roster in every single one of them. So with best ball, it's auto managed for you. Best players get put in each week. And just the app's super easy to use. You can create your own custom rankings. You can join the big tournaments, do small ones too. I know Kenny also plays, and he really likes doing like these 3-player tournaments where you're all going to get a stacked team, but you really have to be sharp and know who the good sleepers to land are. Otherwise, you may end up getting blown out, even with like a team of Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and Patrick Mahomes at quarterback if you don't get good running backs and wide receivers. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do on there. Can't recommend it enough. Get in before the season starts. You got like 48 hours before the first game. I'm sure they'll have other contests after that too, but you want to get in on that tournament with $1 million in prizes, and maybe you'll end up squaring off against me, and then you could beat me and rub it in my face. So yeah, definitely give it a shot.
Awesome. Yeah, I wish I could rub it in your face, but I can't because I can't play. But if you're not in PA, you could probably go to Underdog Fantasy in the App Store, download it, and use promo code Walter Football. That's one word, Walter Football. So definitely make sure you do that to help support the show. All right, late games, Chargers at Bengals. We had this discussion when the Week 1 spreads came, and I'm not as strong on this game as I was before, but I still like the right side. The Chargers open up minus, looks like -3. They're still -3. So who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I like the Bengals. This isn't one of my stronger games of the week, but I do think they're the right side, because if you look at the Chargers team, they're if you eliminate the quarterback position, they're really appealing. They have a really good defense, even with Derwin James hurt. Their cornerbacks are really good. They've upgraded their offensive line significantly by adding Brian Bulaga and Trey Turner. The right side of the unit looks great. And they have Keenan Allen on offense too, and he's one of the better receivers in terms of getting receptions, getting open, and more recently staying healthy. So I like their team, but they have an injury to Mike Williams, so they're really only one deep at receiver, along with Hunter Henry at tight end. So Tyrod Taylor's only going to have one guy to throw to. And Tyrod Taylor's the other problem here. Tyrod Taylor is not a very good passer. He's accurate short and sometimes intermediate, but he can't really throw the ball deep. And, if a guy isn't open, he's more likely to scramble, which is great. He can do stuff with his legs, but he's just not a guy who makes massive plays with his arms. So I could foresee the Chargers offense struggling if the Bengals render them one-dimensional, which they could, because the Bengals have made some serious upgrades to their defense. They added DJ Reader and have Geno Atkins, so they're well prepared to stop the run in this game. Austin Eckler's better as a receiver out of the backfield than he is handling a full workload between the tackles. So I think they're going to focus on trying to eliminate the run and make Tyrod Taylor beat them, the Bengals, that is. And the Bengals themselves are underrated on offense. Like, I have my questions about how quickly Joe Burrow is going to adjust to the NFL level, but there's no doubt that he has a lot of talent around him at receiver. The offensive line should be better because Jonah Williams is healthy. And I think that Joe Mixon can carry the rock and really take some of the pressure off Joe Burrow. So I like the Bengals to potentially get the upset in terms of the spread and win at home. I'm on them, I think, for 2 units. You kind of convinced me to go for more. You convinced me to go for less, too. I think if this number was like 4, I'd be probably more gung-ho about the Bengals. But I think this is probably going to be a 3-point game, and I could see either the Bengals or the Chargers winning it. So I'm going to take the Bengals here because of that.
Well, I'm not going to convince you more or less because I'm even with you with 2 units on the Bengals. So we're right there with each other. So the reason why I'm less bullish on the Bengals as compared to where I was a couple months ago is because kind of like really reviewed Cincinnati's offensive line. You mentioned Jonah Williams coming back from injury, and that's enormous. But like, what else do they have up front? Like, we were talking about Cordy Glenn every single week last year. Now we don't have to because he's not there anymore. And kind of wish that he was there, because if Cordy Glenn were on this team as a bookend across from Jonah Williams, I would like the Bengals a lot more, but I'm worried that they won't be able to block what the Chargers have up front. Like, the Chargers have such a great pass rush, so it seems like such a big mismatch for the Chargers in that regard. Like, that's the biggest mismatch in this game. It's the Chargers pass rush versus Cincinnati's pass protection. But I'm on Cincinnati because Tyrod Taylor is a 3-point favorite on the road. Like, why is that a thing? Like, I don't understand. Tyrod Taylor should not be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, we saw him in Cleveland. He was awful. I know it's the Browns, but, Taylor's he's not gotten any better. And with Mike Williams presumably out, the Chargers' offensive line is better, but I still don't trust their left tackle. I still don't trust Mike Pouncey to be what he was once upon a time. So I don't trust the Chargers' pass protection either. And the Bengals, like you said, added some good players to their defense. Like, I like their defensive line a lot, so they should be able to win in the trenches as well. So I think this is going to be like a 13-10, 16-13 game. I don't know who's going to win, but if it's going to be a 3-point game, I would take the +3. So I'm on Cincinnati for 2 units.
Yeah, and you mentioned the mismatch on the edge. I saw a tweet earlier today. Someone had tweeted about how they think the Bengals will win, and the response to the tweet was just Bobby Hart versus Joey Bosa.
Right.
And I think that's enough to strike fear into anyone considering betting the Bengals, especially since the greatest block I've ever seen Bobby Hart throw was to a guy on Twitter who then said, "Yeah, man, block me. It's the only time you've ever blocked in your life." So, no offense, Bobby Hart, but I don't trust you against Joey Bosa. So, yeah, that worries me enough. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a low-scoring field goal game. So why not take the +3?
Yeah, for sure. And that is scary. So wish, like I said, wish Cordy Glenn was still there. So we had to get that name in, of course. All right, next game, Cardinals at 49ers. This line opened up -7. It's still 7. Kind of surprising that the public is on Arizona, not by an overwhelming amount, but a decent amount. I was kind of shocked by it. So who do you like in this game?
I actually am on Arizona as well. The Cardinals were a real thorn in the 49ers side last year. I think they covered in both games, and they were able to keep pace against tough 49ers defense. I think we should expect to see more of the same because the Cardinals have gotten better on offense. They added Kelvin Beachum at tackle, and obviously they have DeAndre Hopkins now at receiver. So they have better blocking, better pass-catching weapons. And their defense, I think, has improved as well. We'll see what Isaiah Simmons can do as a rookie, but he should at least help their absolute bottomless pit against tight ends from last year. And I've been low on the 49ers this year. I think that they're a prime team to experience a Super Bowl hangover because they really had a chance to beat the Chiefs and couldn't capitalize on it. Now, I trust Kyle Shanahan as a great coach, but I think because they matched up so poorly with the Cardinals, like the Cardinals averaged 25.5 points and 313.5 yards of offense per game against them last year. I just think they're going to have some trouble in that regard. Since we're getting all the key numbers, 3, 6, 7, I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. I'll probably go 2 to 3 units. I just think that there's no reason that the 49ers should be favored by this much, given what the Cardinals did to them last year.
Yeah, we're on the same side. You're betting this game though, and I'm not. The public action concerns me a little bit, and I just think that the 49ers are the better team, and I trust Kyle Shanahan over Cliff Kingsbury. But I still think Arizona's the right side. I think this line's too high, and I was talking about how the Eagles are mispriced based on previous public perception. Like, people still remember the Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl, and that's why they're -6 over the Redskins. Like, here, San Francisco's -7 over Arizona because people just saw them in the Super Bowl. I still think the Niners will be good this year. Like, if they make it to the Super Bowl again, I won't be surprised, but they lost. They're not the same team. Like, they lost to Forrest Buckner, which is huge. Like, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Let alone at defensive tackle. So he's gone. Emmanuel Sanders is gone. Deebo Samuel is hurt. He may not be 100%. If Joe Staley's gone, so that means Trent Williams is there. Like, maybe he's good. Maybe he's still really good. But who knows? He hasn't played football in a year. So the Niners and Fred Warner's injured. So like the Niners have a lot of bad things going for them right now, and they're not as good as they were last year. So they can still cover the spread, but I think I would take Arizona.
Yeah, I think it's just the right side. If the Cardinals had struggled badly against the 49ers last year, I probably would feel different, but I feel like we've seen enough of them to have faith that they're going to be able to put up a good battle with the 49ers. And I think the 49ers are good too, but I just think they're going to come out of the gate slow. The Seahawks are going to win the division. The 49ers are going to get one of the wild cards, and then they'll go on a postseason run. I could be wrong about that, but I just feel like this number is way too high.
Yeah, there's a dubious history with Super Bowl losers in week one against the spread. I don't have the number right in front of me, but it is pretty bad. So if you like trends, which I'm not crazy about, but if you like trends, then that definitely favors Arizona. All right, last of the late afternoon games, the Saints, the Buccaneers are at the Saints. Line open up Saints -4, down to 3.5. So I'm excited to watch this one, and of course, your former quarterback is quarterbacking the Buccaneers. So curious to hear your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best game to watch on the NFL slate. I think this could be one of the most competitive ones overall. And at the very least, it's Brady versus Breeze. Like, doesn't get much better than that for week one matchups. I think I'm on the Buccaneers side in this one. I think the Buccaneers are still being underrated because people look at how bad Tom Brady was last year, or how much trouble he had moving the ball downfield, and they don't contextualize it with the fact that the Patriots receiving corps was relying on a one-armed Julian Edelman, a one-ankled Mohamed Sanu, and N'Keal Harry, who separates about as well as a statue. So it's kind of like, how did you want him to do in that circumstance? Like, he did the best he could, but now he's got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller. The list goes on. So they've got all these guys who could turn out to be well. But the biggest thing about this game for me is Tampa last year had 41 giveaways. Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions. The Patriots had 16 turnovers. Brady had 8 interceptions. So you're talking about Brady having like 25% to 33% of the turnovers that Winston had. So even if Brady has like a terrible year in terms of interceptions for him and throws 15, that's still half as many as Winston. So, I mean, that's just absolutely absurd. The Bucs gave up almost 8 points per game off turnovers. Brady's going to cut down that interception total. The defense is going to be in much better positions than they were last year. They're going to be on the field less. They're going to be like inside their 20 far less frequently, I would assume. And I just think people are sleeping on the Bucs. As good as the Saints are, they do struggle early in the season. I know you'll have better stats on this than me, but they're 2-10 outright in their first 2 games over the past 6 seasons. But they tend to heat up after a slow start. So I'm on the Bucs plus 3.5 for 4 units, and they're my money line pick of the week. Like, I think their money line somewhere, I forget where, is plus 150. So I will probably be on that, maybe for half a unit, maybe for a unit. But I absolutely love them because I think this will probably be a field goal game, and we get it in pretty much both directions by betting the Bucs plus 3.5. So it's one of my favorite games of the week.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I think the 2 most likely outcomes in this game are Saints winning by 3 and Buccaneers winning by 3, and you get both by taking the Buccaneers at plus 3.5. So, Tampa to me seems like the obvious side here, and I think the Buccaneers are better than the Saints, and the Saints won't have the same home field advantage that they normally have. I don't know what their stadium situation is. I don't know if they're going to be completely empty or maybe small capacity. I'm not really sure about that, but it won't be a madhouse like it usually is. So it's not that big of an advantage as it normally would be. But it really didn't matter. Remember a couple of years ago, the Buccaneers went into New Orleans and won outright in week 1. That was Ryan Fitzpatrick just going nuts, throwing to like Mike Evans and Chris, or is it Deshaun Jackson had a big game. So yeah, I like the Buccaneers a lot. Tom Brady in his career or since 2003 is 23-11 against the spread as an underdog. So I love getting Tom Brady with more than a field goal. Just seems like a great winning proposition. And yeah, I have the stat that Sean Payton is 1-13 against the spread in the first 2 weeks of the season. I don't understand why he's so bad to start the year, but we see it every year. The Saints start poorly, either 0-2 or 1-1, and people are like, "What is wrong with the Saints? Like, is Drew Brees done?" Blah blah blah, and then the Saints win 8 in a row after that. It always happens. But for some reason, the Saints always start poorly, kind of like we saw 2 years ago in that aforementioned Buccaneers loss. So I think the Buccaneers win this game outright. So I'm obviously going to like the plus 3.5. So this is a 4-unit play for me.
Yeah, it sounds like we agree on everything. It blows my mind that people don't think the Bucs are going to be good. Like, they were 7-9 last year when they turned the ball over 41 times. Like, I just, like, with all due respect, I don't understand the hate for the Buccaneers. Like, I've learned not to doubt Tom Brady. Maybe I'll finally be proven wrong, but 20 years so far, it hasn't proven me wrong. So we'll see if that trend changes.
Yeah, so I've been trading stocks, and this kind of reminds me of how people are down on GameStop because they think it's the next blockbuster, which is not. This is kind of like this reminds me because people are saying, "Oh, the Buccaneers just have those receivers; they're just big names like Brady, Evans, Godwin. They have nothing else." Like they were great at the end of the year last year. Like they were outstanding. And remember what happened at the end of the year? They got Jason Pierre-Paul back from injury, and they got their corner Jamel Dean started playing very well. The rookie cornerback, he had a bad first game, but then he started playing very well too. So like James Winston had good protection at the end of the year. It was just those 30 interceptions that killed them. I think you said earlier that they had like 8 points per game allowed on turnovers. And that's not going to be the case with Brady. It's going to be like 2, right? And so they lost, I believe, out of their 9 games, I think 7 were by 6 or fewer points. So if you take that margin away, you turn those 6 losses into wins. That 7-9 is a 13-3, and I think the Buccaneers will go around that record this year. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, we definitely agree. Let's go to the Sunday night game. Cowboys at the Rams. The sign opened up Cowboys -2.5. I saw it bouncing to 3, then 2.5 to 3, and right now it's a 3. So who do you like in this game?
I like the Rams. The Cowboys have an awesome offense, but their defense just does not inspire much confidence. Like they have a guy at each level of the defense. They have DeMarcus Lawrence. They have Leighton Vander Esch. And actually, they don't even have a guy in the secondary anymore because Byron Jones is gone. He's in Miami now. So I just think that they're not going to be able to contain the Rams offense as much as they should be able to. Like the Rams don't have a good offensive line. They still have good receivers. And Jared Goff, if he's given time in the pocket, will be able to find them. I think if the Rams just devote most of their energy to like slowing down DeMarcus Lawrence, that they should be in good shape. So I think the Rams could win this one outright at home. I think it could end up being a shootout, but like, again, this is a classic. It could end up being a field goal game either way. If that's going to be what happens, I will take the team that is kind of being underrated in this matchup. And I don't think the Rams are any great shakes, but I think their defensive side of the ball has more chance of disrupting the Cowboys than the Cowboys defense has of disrupting them, just because of Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So I'm on the Rams for an undetermined amount of units yet. I don't know how confident I am in this pick. So I may determine a unit count after I hear what you think.
Yeah, maybe it'll be higher than you initially thought. I love the Rams. They're one of my top picks this week. This is a 5-unit play for me. The Cowboys are the most overrated team in the NFL. Like, I don't understand why people think they're that good. I remember after the 2020 NFL draft, Steve Smith said this is going to be like the 90s Cowboys of Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, they have some great offensive talents, like Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, who, I mean, maybe he's not that great, but he's very good. And then CeeDee Lamb is going to have a bright future. But as a rookie, I'm not so sure. Although I do like him, like for fantasy purposes. This Dallas team is like so much fluff. They have nothing on defense except for the 2 names you mentioned. They signed Gerald McCoy. He's out for the year. Sean Lee's injured. Their secondary is complete garbage. I think they cut Clinton Dix too. So like, it was suspected to be a good player for them. So he's gone. So I don't understand. I don't know how they're going to take advantage of the Rams' weakness. The Rams' major weakness is the offensive line. Like that's why I was so down on them heading into last year. But Dallas, except for Lawrence, they don't have any sort of pass rush that can rattle Jared Goff. And when Jared Goff has time in the pocket, he's really good. Like he took the team to the Super Bowl because they had a great offensive line. Last year, he didn't have any blocking, and that's why he struggled. But here, he's going to have time in the pocket to dissect a terrible secondary. So I feel like the Rams should be able to score whenever they have the ball. Dallas, meanwhile, they have talent, but the Rams defense is still really good. Like they lost some players for sure. Like Corey Littleton's gone. Wade Phillips is gone. That's huge. Dante Fowler too. But they still have Jalen Ramsey. They still have 2 very good safeties, and they still have Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers. Like they still have some talent to take advantage of the Cowboys' problems on offense. And the Cowboys' problems on offense is on the offensive line. Like Dak Prescott is used to having great blocking, and now they're without their center Travis Frederick, who retired. The right tackle, Lyle Collins, one of the best right tackles in the NFL. He's injured. He's not going to play in this game. You have Tyron Smith, left tackle, who is a huge name, but he hasn't been the same player in recent years. Like his back, he is that bulging disc that James Slater once told us about. So the offensive line is in flux, and I think the Rams should be able to win up front, which means bad things for Dak Prescott. So I like the Rams a lot, and then that's not even factoring in Sean McVay versus Mike McCarthy. McVay, with tons of time to prepare, has been excellent in his young coaching career. Mike McCarthy is a terrible head coach. My dogs are freaking out because I'm sure they love the Rams as well. So, play.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I had written 4 units in my and I was like, is that right? And now I know it is, because now you have 5 units. I was like, that feels like too much at first, because I don't love the Rams, but it is the matchup. And the coaching, just to harp on the McCarthy point, everyone was so much like, oh wow, Mike McCarthy's a great hire for the Cowboys. And I think we liked him less than any of the other NFC East talent coaches. I liked Ron Rivera the best, and I think Joe Judge the second best, because I saw some upside with him. With McCarthy, there was no upside. So unless he ends up being like some complete offensive genius that we didn't really see the last few years at Green Bay, we saw it early, but was that more Aaron Rodgers? I don't think he's going to carry this team any further than Jason Garrett did.
Yeah, this question here, is McCarthy the answer to Dallas's underachieving woes? I mean, Green Bay underachieved all the time with McCarthy. Like McCarthy spent his year off, like getting kicked out of lacrosse games. So I don't see why that would change. Like I think Jason Garrett might be better than McCarthy. I think he's terrible, and I think Kenny agrees too. Kenny had that famous rant about McCarthy, which I would love to find. I don't know where the video is. I was looking for it, but maybe I could find it one day. All right, there are 2 Monday night games as usual in week 1. The first one is Steelers at the Giants. This line opened up Steelers -3.5. Tons of public action on the Steelers has driven this line up to 6. So who do you like in this game?
Okay, I like this a lot more knowing that line has moved that much, but I am on the Giants here. I thought this felt like a bit of a trap, because I do think the Steelers are a little bit better than the Giants on paper, just because they're more proven, especially on defense. And the offensive side of the ball, I think if Ben Roethlisberger is healthy, they're relatively even. But a couple things have come to light. You told me that David DeCastro is likely not to play week 1, so that's a big impact on the Steelers' offensive line. And I think that the Giants defense, their strength is on the line, so they'll figure out a way to slow down the run game and make Big Ben beat them through the air. And I just think that the Giants offense is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. Like, they have 3 legitimate receivers, a great tight end in Evan Ingram, who should be healthy, hopefully, for this game. And then Saquon Barkley should be able to take a lot of pressure off Daniel Jones. All of this game is going to come down to, can Daniel Jones not turn the ball over? Can he get the ball out of his hands quick enough to avoid interceptions and fumbles? I think with an offseason of work behind him, the answer should be yes. I don't know if the answer will be yes. But if we're getting 6 here, I think this game's going to be closer than people think. I think this could be a field goal game. So I'm on the Giants. I originally said I wasn't going to bet this game, but now I think I'll be on them for 2 units. I could totally see the Steelers winning this one, but I don't think it's going to be by like a massive margin. I think this is going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I think so too. I love the Giants this year. I bet them to win the Super Bowl at 100 and was it 15 or 120 to 1 odds or something like that. I don't think they'll win it, but I love the value, and I think they have a good chance of winning the division. I think they were 18 to 1 to win the division. It's a horrible division, like, first of all, but I think the Giants are one of these teams with a second-year quarterback that normally have success that people don't anticipate. And I think Daniel Jones is going to be a lot better this year. I really like him with his receiving core is very good. Shepard, Slayton, and Tate, and then you have Evan Ingram, who's going to be injured at some point, but he's healthy now. And then Saquon Barkley was injured for most of last year, even though he played. But he's going to be 100% now. The Giants improved their secondary. They added James Bradbury. They still have a very good defensive line, and they were underrated against the run last year. They were very good against the run, especially after they got Leonard Williams. So, I think the Giants should be able to stop the run. I don't know if they can stop the pass, though. I mean, even especially despite the Bradbury signing, if Roethlisberger is 100% healthy, like he was a few years ago, that could be problematic, because they have Juju Smith-Schuster, who I love, and then they have Deontay Johnson, who I think is going to have a big year. They have Eric Ebron, should take take advantage of the linebacking course. So the Steelers have a ton of firepower, but if Roethlisberger's not 100%, then the Giants should be able to win this game, I think, especially with David DeCastro out. Like, that's huge. DeCastro, arguably the best guard in the NFL. So, like, not having him is going to weaken the Steelers offense. I don't think people realize that. Like, this line hasn't moved. In fact, it's moved up. So, like, people don't take offensive linemen into account. Like, the Steelers can survive without just DeCastro, but I don't think they're going to be as good. So I think this line's too high. I made it -1 just because I'm so good. I'm so bullish on the Giants. But the computer model has the Steelers at -5, so we're still getting decent value, or at least some value with the Giants. So I like the Giants here. I have them for 3 units. I think that might be a little too high, but I'm basing that on like how bullish I am on the Giants this year. So I'd be surprised if this is a blowout.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot about the Giants in this game. Like, if they lose big to the Steelers, I think we're going to have to reassess on them. But I don't see that happening. I do think this is going to be a close game. I also think this is one of the tougher games on the Giants' schedule, so hopefully they'll be amped up for it enough. They are playing with a first-year head coach, which worries me to an extent, but maybe he can get them motivated and say, like, hey, guys, this is going to be a really tough game for us, but we can do it. So it'll depend on how Joe Judge does as a coach, but this is probably one of the games I'm most interested in on the slate, because I think it's going to tell us a lot about the Steelers and the Giants, 2 teams that I think are both playoff contenders this year.
Kind of an enigma because we haven't seen Roethlisberger play healthily in 2 years. With the real quick on the first year head coach thing, that doesn't bother me as much about Joe Judge because the Giants basically have the same roster they did last year. Like it's most like they really haven't made that many changes. Like they added Bradbury, obviously Andrew Thomas instead of Nate Solder, but like, Jones is still there. The receiver's still there. Running back's still there. Defensive line mostly intact. Edge rush mostly intact. Like that's why this doesn't bother me as much. Like maybe it does play a factor. Like maybe that does bother the Giants, but that's why I'm mostly okay with the Giants. So, all right, last game is Titans at Broncos, and this line moved in real time. When you were talking about the Steelers and Giants game, this line popped up 1.5 points. So now it's Titans -2.5. This line opened up Broncos -2, and it was -1 when we started this podcast, and now it's -2.5. So it could be headed toward 3. So who do you like in this game?
That's very weird because I saw this line as even earlier today. So I like the Broncos even more than I already did. And I just have to very quickly pick Saquon Barkley in this fantasy draft that I'm participating in. Okay, now that's done. But there are a few things that I wrote about the Broncos and why I like them. First of all, Jarrell Casey revenge game. He was traded from the Titans to the Broncos this offseason. I think he'll be motivated to go against his former team because they really offloaded him for nothing, like a 5th-round pick or something. Denver has upgraded their offense a ton via the draft, and they're getting healthier on defense. Bryce Callahan's back. They lost Chris Harris, but they traded for AJ Boye, who I think should be an okay starter. The Broncos have an altitude advantage. I mean, that cannot be overstated for teams that may not be well conditioned because of the lack of a preseason. That'll be a huge advantage for Denver. And the Broncos are equipped to slow down Derrick Henry and make Ryan Tannehill kind of win this game for them. Henry notoriously starts the year slowly too. But I'm a fan of the Broncos in this one. I will probably go with them for 3 or 4 units, though I'm now seeing that apparently Von Miller tore his ACL, according to Andrew.
Yeah, I just Googled it, and yeah, they're saying he suffered a season-ending ankle injury in practice. That's rough. That would explain the line movement. I was like, why would this line move like that? So yeah, it probably almost certainly going to go to 3 now. Now that Von Miller's out, so that sucks. It's a shame, not only for Miller but for this team. I like the Broncos. I thought they could make the playoffs. It's going to be a lot harder without Miller, especially against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, like, you need all hands on deck to beat the Chiefs, and the Broncos haven't been able to do that. They haven't been able to beat Mahomes, and then and the Raiders are going to be tough too because the Raiders have a great offensive line, so they would need Miller against the Raiders. So I think this locks them into the third place in the AFC West. What do you think before I get my take on this game?
Yeah, I may like them a little more than the Raiders. Like, I may have them at number 2 just because I'm a little bit more bullish on their offensive progress. But the loss of Miller is massive, and that does explain the line movement. And that's such a bummer for this team because I really thought last year they were underrated compared to how they actually performed. They had a couple of really tough, close losses early in the season. And, Vic Fangio kind of was dealt the brunt of the blame for that. But was really stuff out of his control. And yet another thing out of his control happens here. I still like the Broncos this week, though, because I think they'll be kind of have like an emotional, like we should win this game from Vaughn type thing. But yeah, I don't know how far they can go in the playoffs without him.
Yeah. So I like the Broncos here for sure. I don't know, like Ryan Tannehill favored on the road against a decent team. It doesn't seem right to me. Like Tannehill is not a good quarterback. Like even though he was in the top 100 for some reason, we've seen that teams playing in the second Monday night game at night hosting it. They just have a tremendous like edge for some reason. And like maybe this might be a little bit different because the fans won't be there. So that might have an impact, but like generally like these West Coast teams that get to host like East or Central time teams, they have a bigger advantage. So I think that could help Denver out a lot. And I still think the Broncos are a really good team. Like they still have great defensive players. Drew Lock in his second year, that should help. They have a great receiving core. They added Melvin Gordon, Jarrell Casey, as you mentioned, like that was a big addition for them. And of course the Titans got Jadeveon Clowney, so that changed a little bit too. I think that swung the Broncos being favorites to the Titans being favored, and now the Titans are -2.5. But I still like Denver. I had 3 units. I had 2 units listed for Denver at +1. Unless we get +3, I'm probably going to drop it to 1 unit, but +3 would look a lot more appealing. Like I really have a tough time seeing the Titans going into Denver and winning by more than a field goal,
Yeah, I absolutely get that. Like, I'm going to have to see where this line settles and then kind of reassess from there. But I think Denver should win this game. The altitude advantage is the big thing I'm focused on. I just think that the conditioning of the Titans players, like, it can't be that good at this point in the season. So we'll see if that ultimately ends up being proven right. But I think the Broncos will be motivated and ready to go.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that's it for our week 1 NFL picks against the spread. It was a lot of fun doing this. We had more agreements than disagreements, which I think is a good sign. I'll take it as a good sign. Real quick, I thought that we should do survivor picks for this season. Like it was my bad for not alerting you of that, but I think that it will be a fun thing to do. And I imagine you're taking the Colts, right? Because you were talking about that thing earlier. My pick would be the Colts as well.
Yeah, the Colts is my top pick this week for Survivor. Like, they're not going to get an easier matchup than the Jaguars. And I think the Colts are underrated. I know some people think they're overrated, but I truly think it's the opposite. I think not enough people are talking about how solid they are, especially on the offensive line. And their defense is very underrated. Like, yeah, they may have holes at corner, but if Xavier Rhodes pans out, they're going to look really smart for scooping him out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm on the Colts. One of my rules is not to take road teams, but given that there won't be fans in the stands, or in Jacksonville's case, very few fans, I think that's kind of mitigated this year. I don't think there's that much of an issue with that. And plus the Jaguars are trying to lose, so why not go against them? So last question before we sign out. If you have 2 survivor entries, do you stack them or split week 1? I think it depends on your confidence level. Like here, I would be absolutely amazed if the Jaguars beat the Colts. So I think you go Colts week 1 in both entries. And then like when you get to a tough week where you can't decide on 2 sides, then that's where you split.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think if the Colts lose in week 1 to the Jaguars, I would be absolutely stunned. So, I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, we think they're going to win by more than 8. So I think that's a good sign from them. All right. Do you have anything to plug?
Over at Sporting News, we have our week 1 fantasy rankings up. We have DFS lineups up for DraftKings, FanDuel, and even Yahoo too. So feel free to head on over there, check those out. Follow me on Twitter at Jacob Kamenker. I'll try to share my best picks on the day of in case there are any line changes. Just follow me there and let's talk some football with the season almost here.
Sounds good. I can't wait. At walserfootball.com. We have fantasy rankings for those still drafting, as you are right now. Also, I have a draft at 9:00. NFL picks against the spread. We're going to have updates throughout the week. 2021 NFL mock draft will be updated tomorrow morning. Fantasy rankings for week 1 updated, where our start sit is going to be on the homepage, hopefully, if I don't forget. And tons of other stuff. So check us out at walserfootball.com or follow me at walserfootball on Twitter. So Jacob, I will talk to you next week. Actually, I will talk to you in a couple of days when we decide our super contest entry. But on this platform, I will talk to you next week, and hopefully we're discussing our great week 1 start.
Yeah, let's hope. I'll talk to you then.
All right, sounds good. Bye.